Hello friends, and welcome back to another video. Today we are talking about homeschool planning for the 2026-2027 homeschool year. If you are new here, hello, my name is Erin. I am a homeschool mom to 3 kids. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the topic for today's video is planning for the upcoming school year, so 2026-2027 school year. This video is part of a collaboration that is hosted by Shauna from Homegrown Homeschool and Davine from Calm in the Chaos Homeschool. I will link both of their channels down below. Please stop by their channels and say hello to them. They are both full of great wisdom for homeschooling moms and families. I will also link the playlist down below. If you wanted to hop on there after you're done watching my video, you can click on that link and see some other videos of some other homeschool moms that are posting their tips and plans for the upcoming school year. So, as I mentioned, this is for the upcoming school year, which is 2026-2027. And it does seem a little early, maybe to some of you, to be planning for that. And I completely understand that. It is a little early. It's only February here, and it is the beginning of 2026. So it does seem a little wild to be talking about the upcoming school year, but it's also not a bad thing to have in mind maybe some plans that you would like to integrate in the upcoming school year. So we are all going to be talking about that a little bit today. And so with all of that being said, I did want to mention that if you have not started thinking about or planning for your next homeschool year because you're still in the midst of this homeschool year, please don't stress about that. It is 100% okay if you have not had any thought whatsoever of what next homeschool year will look like for you and your family. That is normal. Those of us that are here on this playlist are not coming on to stress you out even more. We are simply just letting you know what it looks like for us right now in the season we're in and how we start to think and plan for the next school year. So keep that in mind as you watch these videos, that if you have not done any sort of planning or thinking, that is completely okay. In the first few years of homeschooling for me, in our very first year, our first month in, I had a newborn, a toddler, and a kindergartner. And it took everything in me to basically get through Monday. And then I woke up and I got through Tuesday. And so if you're in that season, you probably do not have any thought of next year. And that is okay. We are just bringing these videos to hopefully help some of you along the way as you do start to go into the next couple months and think through or start to think about the upcoming school year. So one other thing I also wanted to mention along with that thought is that I also do not purchase all of my items or many of my items early. So as of right now, I don't think I've purchased anything that I plan to use in the upcoming school year for a few different reasons. I don't want to have buyer's remorse down the road. And I feel like if I jump into buying everything that I think looks fun, I will ultimately overspend and then I will feel not so great about that down the road. So I do wait a little bit longer to start purchasing things. I may start to purchase things in a couple months here because I will want to look over them over the summer and have a plan. There's a deer right outside my window. They're so hungry right now because everything's so cold and they're just like coming right up. They're so pretty. Sorry, I was distracted. I do not purchase a lot super early. And that's really the biggest reason is I don't want to overspend and then not use the things that I buy because I don't like that. Another reason for myself and also some other homeschool moms is not buying early is because we kind of wait for some sales to happen. A lot of big curriculum companies will have sales multiple times throughout the year, and you can get a pretty decent discount if you wait for those sales. And if you're signed up for their email newsletters, you will oftentimes get those emails to your inbox that lets you know that they are having a sale. And at that point, if I know I'm 100% going to use that, then I will wait for that, and that's when I will purchase it, and I will just keep it in my plans for the upcoming year. So I really have 5 kind of not like top tips, but 5 things that I use that help me plan and think through the upcoming school year and what I may want to integrate into our homeschool curriculum for the following year. And these things are not in any specific order. They're just the things that came to my mind as I was trying to think through what I was going to discuss with you today. And these are the top 5 things that I sort of use in my brain that help me come to decision making and final decisions for what I may want to use in the upcoming year. So these may not work for you. Again, it depends on what season you're in life. As I mentioned, my first couple years, I really did not have a strict plan. I feel like as a homeschool mom, those first few years are such a blessing in disguise that you see down the road a few years, because kindergarten, preschool age is so much fun to teach. Your kids are just so excited about learning. You do lots of crafts and coloring and painting and cutting and pasting and reading, and it's just such a beautiful time that it's just the way that God has created our lives and mothering to work. I think is just so beautiful, because a lot of times in those early years, you do have a snuggly little baby and you're just sitting on the sofa so much and you're just snuggling with them all and you're reading and all of those things. And it's just so beautiful. So I do feel like those first few years are such a blessing because it eases you into the rhythm of being at home and getting your kids to sit still for a little while longer and just read and draw and paint and color. And I feel like it's just such a blessing in those ways. You don't need to plan a ton. It doesn't have to be strict. You can do that if you want, but I just feel like those first few years are such a beautiful display of just motherhood and enjoying your children. And I love that so much. So as I mentioned, those first few years, I did not have strict planning really for much at all. My middle daughter joined in a lot with what my son was doing at the time, and I just sort of tweaked it to fill her little tank, and it just all works out. And so if you're in those first few years, you really don't need to have strict planning whatsoever. Again, you can do that if you want, but it's okay if you don't. The first step that I take to sort of plan what I want for the following school year, I choose to keep a Pinterest board that's labeled I think it's family homeschool plans. I also have a specific Pinterest board for each of my children, but I reference the family one often because we do group subjects like history, science, Bible, a lot of reading together. Throughout the year, if I'm on Pinterest and I see a curriculum or a plan that interests me that I think would fit our family well, but I'm not ready to switch up in the middle of the school year, I will save those plans or that idea to that specific Pinterest board. And then I'll go back every couple times throughout the year and I'll just look through that board and see if there's something that I would like to fill in or start in the next year that I've maybe forgotten about. So those are ideas that sort of filter all throughout the year, and I reference that every so often throughout the year, so it's fresh in my mind. And I also keep a folder on my laptop desktop that is also very similar for maybe plans that I'm not able to pin for some reason. I will just kind of place those into that folder. And then that's also something that I will reference if I need some fresh ideas or maybe some fresh inspiration for the upcoming school year. So that's the first tip or the first step that I take, is sort of to look through those folders and things that I've saved and see if anything looks fun and exciting or anything that would fit our upcoming schedule. Another step that I take, so I'll just label this as step number 2, is I just evaluate how things are going. So as of right now, we're in February. So I'm thinking of how things are going. How is history going? Is it a good fit for us? Do I want to switch things up next year? I'm not one that often switches in the middle of something. I really do try to finish it through. If it's really, really bad and we have to stop, that's fine. But I don't think there's really been anything that has been that bad that we haven't followed through with, now that I'm thinking of it. I mean, maybe, but not that I can think of. So I really try to follow through with something once I've started it. And so with that being said, If I know something that hasn't really worked great for us this year, then I just won't continue into the next level next year and I'll just do something different. So I evaluate how things are going and I think about if we need a different type of learning style or different type of structure to the unit study or book or whatever it may be that we're using. And that is step number 2. Very simple, very easy. And that's something that you also can kind of evaluate year round as you're going along. The third step is I think through unit studies, books, anything that I may have already purchased. So as I mentioned in the beginning, I don't often like to purchase things early, but if there's a company that makes unit studies that I really, really love. One that I'm thinking of right now is Rachel from Where Do You Learn That? She often, several times throughout the year, runs really great sales on her PDFs. And so I know I have one specific PDF of hers that I have purchased that I knew I wanted to use with Easton. I knew I wanted to use with him at some point throughout his schooling. I had purchased that on one of her really great sale opportunities that she was presenting. And so I know for sure that I have that one. And so I'll just think through all of those things that I may already have that can be utilized. For language arts and math, we pretty much stay steady with that. We really don't switch that up every year. If it's working well for us, we advance to the next level. So language arts, we use Easy Peasy, and my kids do really well with that. It's a great fit for us. So I know that I will just advance them to the next level in the following year. For math, we use teaching textbooks. That works really well for us. And so I just advance them onto the next level. And so those are 2 subjects that I already know what I'm going to be doing for those. And for Easy Peasy, because we've used language arts consistently with them throughout many years now, I have most of the lesson guides and parent guides that I need for my next child coming up, and I can just reuse them. So I just purchase a new workbook unless I choose to use the online version for that program. And so I reference what I already have. I pull books from my shelf that I've already purchased and piece things together from there. Number 4 is I wait for co-op classes to be announced and plans for what the upcoming co-op school year may look like. So this doesn't typically happen until later on, early spring, but I oftentimes will wait and see what's being offered at co-op. So for example, if there's a literature class being offered at co-op, then I more than likely won't have a strict reading program at home that I will do with my kids because they will be getting that at co-op. They'll be reading through many novels, they'll be doing literature studies and things like that. And they do reading at home independently. So I don't feel like we need to double up on that so much. So that oftentimes will play into my decisions for the upcoming school year as well. So I keep that in the back of my head. I don't know what those classes will be yet, but that is something I wait for to make my final decisions on the upcoming school year. And I will say my last step number 5, is I'm always very aware of my kids' interests and what they are sort of leaning towards, what their strengths are, what their weaknesses may be. And so that helps me know what their major interests are. So if there's a unit study or a book or something that they would like to study further on, then we might dive a little deeper into that. For example, Easton really loves robotics and coding and all sorts of things like that. So he is currently going through a course from Mark Grober, and that's been an extra that we added in that we did not plan to do at the beginning of this school year. And so I love that part about homeschooling is that you can really hit hard on those things that your kids are very interested in. And you can do it as a family study, you can do it as independently. You just sort of make it fit into where you can and go from there. And then also the other side of that coin would be your children's weaknesses. If they need a little more help with reading, then I'll know to do a stricter reading lessons with one child versus the other who is reading flawlessly. And so you just kind of have to know where your kids are at, where their strengths and weaknesses may lie. And that's not something that anybody can really answer for you except for you as their mom. And that's the beauty of you being their homeschool mom, is that you know them best out of really anyone else. So take my steps that I use and apply them as you see fit. Hopefully, they will be a help to someone. Again, don't stress about it if you're nowhere near planning for the upcoming school year. It is totally fine and you will be just fine. If I've mentioned anything that interested you or maybe popped a question into your head, please leave that down below. I would love to hear some tips from you that you use to plan for your upcoming school year. Thank you to Daveen and Shauna for hosting this collaboration. Again, I will link their channels down below and I will also link the playlist down below. So hop on there and say hello to some of the other moms on there. Thank you for being here if you've watched the end, and we will talk very, very soon.